Have you ever felt like life is just too difficult? Like no matter how hard you try, happiness seems so far away. What if I told you that happiness, even in the worst conditions, is possible? Isn't it strange how some people can smile through their struggles, while others feel trapped by their own challenges? Why does it feel so hard to find joy, especially when everything around us seems to be falling apart? Imagine you're in the middle of a storm. Nothing is going your way. You've lost something important, or maybe someone you love is hurt. How do you respond? Do you let the storm take control of your emotions? Or do you find a way to stay calm and centered, no matter how wild the storm becomes? This is where the teachings of Buddhism come into play. It teaches us that even in the worst of conditions, we can still find happiness, peace, and contentment. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore the timeless wisdom of Buddhism and how it can transform your life. In this video, we're going to uncover simple but powerful insights that will help you stay happy, no matter how tough life gets. Are you ready to discover the path to inner peace, even in the hardest times? Stick with us, and you'll learn how to unlock true happiness, no matter the circumstances. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Life doesn't have to be a constant struggle. Through the wisdom of Buddhism, we can begin to see the beauty and peace that already exist within us. The first step to finding happiness is understanding that it's not about changing your external circumstances, but transforming your inner mindset. If you're ready to explore this life-changing journey, keep watching, because what you'll learn today could change everything for you. Stay tuned, because the road to lasting happiness starts now. Understanding suffering, the first step to liberation. Life is full of suffering. Have you ever wondered why pain is such a part of our existence? No matter how much we try to avoid it, suffering seems to find its way into our lives. Sometimes it's physical pain, an injury or illness. Other times it's emotional pain, the loss of a loved one, the feeling of loneliness, or a broken heart. But here's the important question. What if suffering is not something to avoid, but something to understand? What if, by truly understanding suffering, we could free ourselves from its grip? Suffering is not something new. It has been part of human existence for as long as we can remember. In fact, the Buddha's first teaching, known as the Four Noble Truths, begins with the acknowledgement of suffering. The Buddha said, "Life is suffering." But why would someone start with such a heavy statement? Isn't that a little discouraging? Well, the truth is, understanding suffering is the key to liberating ourselves from it. If we don't face it head-on, we'll never truly be free. So, what does this suffering look like? It's not just about physical pain. It's about the struggles we all face in life. The stress, the disappointment, the fear, the confusion. We struggle with wanting things to go a certain way, but life doesn't always cooperate. And when things don't go as we expect, we feel pain. But what if we stopped expecting everything to go perfectly? What if we accepted that things will not always be easy? This doesn't mean we should become passive or give up, but rather, we should learn to find peace with life as it is, messy, unpredictable, and sometimes painful. Imagine this. You're walking down a road, and you suddenly step on a sharp stone. It hurts, right? But what do you do next? Do you stand there, angry at the stone for hurting you? Do you focus on how unfair it is that the stone is there in the first place? No, you move your foot, and you keep walking. Life is a lot like that. Sometimes, we step on a metaphorical sharp stone. The pain comes, but it's what we do after that matters. Do we stay stuck in the pain? Or do we move forward, learning and growing along the way? The Buddha didn't just talk about suffering. He gave us a path to overcome it. He said that suffering arises because of our desires and attachments. We want things to go a certain way. We cling to people, objects, and situations, and when they change or disappear, we suffer. But when we understand that everything in life is temporary, we can learn to let go. The Buddha didn't mean we should stop caring, but rather, we should stop depending on external things for our happiness. When we're attached to things, we're setting ourselves up for pain. But when we let go, we free ourselves. Let's consider this with a simple example. Think about a tree in a strong wind. The tree that bends and adapts to the wind survives, while the tree that resists and stays rigid gets broken. In life, we are often like the rigid tree, trying to control everything and resisting the natural flow of change. But if we learn to bend and flow with life's challenges, we can stay strong, no matter what comes our way. Suffering is part of life, but we don't have to be broken by it. The key is understanding it, accepting it, and learning to adapt. This idea of letting go is not about being passive or indifferent. It's about freeing ourselves from the burden of unnecessary expectations. You see, when we expect life to always be perfect, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we accept that life is full of ups and downs, we start to see that every difficulty holds a lesson. It's like a storm that comes and eventually passes, leaving behind clearer skies. Every hardship we face can teach us something new about ourselves, if we are willing to learn. You might wonder, how can suffering actually help me find happiness? It seems like an impossible thought, doesn't it? But the truth is, when we understand suffering, we also understand that we don't need to hold on to it. Suffering becomes a teacher, not an enemy. It shows us where we are attached, where we are resisting, and where we need to grow. Once we see this clearly, we can begin to release the hold that suffering has on us. We can move forward, lighter and more at peace. Buddhism teaches that the root of all suffering is ignorance, not knowing the true nature of reality. We get stuck in our minds, attached to our thoughts, and caught up in the illusions we create. But when we start to see things as they truly are, we realize that suffering doesn't have to control us. It's just a part of the process, a stepping stone on the path to deeper wisdom. We may not be able to avoid all suffering, but we can change how we relate to it. We can stop seeing it as something that destroys us and start seeing it as something that helps us grow. So, how do we start this process of understanding suffering? The first step is awareness. When we become aware of our pain, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, we start to notice how we react to it. Do we resist it? Do we avoid it? Or do we simply observe it, without judgment, and let it pass? This is the beginning of true freedom. By acknowledging suffering, we can begin to transform it. As we move forward in this journey, remember that understanding suffering isn't about making it go away. It's about seeing it clearly, without fear or resistance. The more we understand our suffering, the less power it has over us. And the more we understand ourselves, the more we find that happiness is not something that comes from the outside, but something that comes from within. When we stop fighting life's challenges and accept them as they are, we open the door to peace. This is the true path to happiness, even in the worst of conditions. Understanding suffering is the first step on the journey to liberation. It is through this understanding that we begin to see the truth of life, that suffering is not permanent, that it does not define us, and that we have the power to choose how we respond. The key to staying happy, even in the worst conditions, lies in our ability to face suffering with a calm heart, to learn from it, and to release it when it's time to let go. When we can do this, we become free, and that freedom is where true happiness resides. Detachment, the key to unshakable joy. Imagine this. You're holding on to something tightly, like a rope or a precious object. The more you hold on, the more it starts to hurt your hand, right? But even though it's causing pain, you keep holding on because you're afraid to let go. Life can feel like this too. We hold on to things, our plans, our possessions, our relationships, thinking that these things will bring us happiness. But sometimes, the more we hold on, the more it hurts. Detachment is the key to unlocking a deeper, more unshakable joy. It's not about abandoning everything or becoming cold and distant. No, detachment is about learning how to release the grip of attachment. It's about realizing that true happiness doesn't come from the things we cling to, but from within ourselves. When we detach, we give ourselves the freedom to experience life as it is, without being controlled by fear or desire. Let me tell you something very important. Happiness isn't about possessing more or controlling everything. It's about letting go of the need to control and accept what is. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering. We often tie our happiness to things that are fleeting, and when these things change or disappear, we are left in pain. But what if, instead of attaching our happiness to things, we could find it within? What if we could find joy no matter what we lose or gain? This doesn't mean we stop caring about people or things. No, it's quite the opposite. Detachment is about loving freely, without expectations or conditions. It's about being fully present in every moment, without the constant need to control the outcome. When you detach, you free yourself from the weight of wanting things to be a certain way. You become like a tree in the wind, standing strong but flexible, able to bend without breaking. Think of the times you've been hurt by others or disappointed by life. Isn't it because you expected things to go a certain way? Maybe you expected someone to act a certain way, or a situation to turn out differently. But when it didn't, you were left feeling hurt or frustrated. This happens when we cling to our expectations and desires. But when we learn to let go of these attachments, we stop being slaves to our own desires and expectations. We learn to embrace life as it is, without needing it to be different. Detachment doesn't mean that you stop caring about the people in your life or the things you love. Instead, it means that you stop tying your happiness to them. You begin to realize that no matter what happens, you can still find peace within yourself. Whether you're in a difficult situation, whether you're struggling with loss, or whether things aren't going your way, you don't need to hold on to the pain. You can let it go, and in that release, you find peace. Isn't that a beautiful thought? The more we hold on to the past, the more we carry around old wounds, regrets, and fears. But when we let go, we are free to move forward. Think about it. When you're carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones, it's hard to move, right? But when you take off the backpack, suddenly you can walk freely. Detachment is like putting down that heavy load. You let go of the past, the worries, and the things you think you need. In doing so, you free yourself to experience life with an open heart. The Buddha said, "Attachment leads to suffering." So, how do we break free from this cycle? The first step is awareness. Start by recognizing the things you're attached to, the material possessions, the people, the situations, and ask yourself, why am I holding on to this? What do I fear will happen if I let go? Often, our attachment comes from a place of fear. We fear losing control, we fear loss, or we fear the unknown. But the truth is, the more we try to control, the more we feel anxiety and stress. Detachment is the antidote to this fear. It's the realization that we can trust life to unfold without our constant intervention. It's not always easy to detach, especially when we've spent so much time holding on. But remember, detachment isn't about pushing things away. It's about choosing not to allow things to control your happiness. It's about choosing to remain calm, centered, and joyful, regardless of the circumstances. When you detach, you no longer let external events determine your inner peace. You become the master of your own happiness. Think about a child playing with a toy. If the toy breaks, the child might cry for a moment, but soon enough, they'll move on to something else. The child isn't attached to the toy. They find joy in the moment, and if the toy breaks, they let go without holding on to the hurt. This is the kind of detachment we should strive for, not an indifference to life, but a healthy understanding that we don't need to cling to anything for our happiness. When you practice detachment, you begin to see that you are not the things you have, or the people in your life. You are more than that. Your true essence, your inner peace, doesn't depend on anything outside of you. It comes from within, and when you realize this, you begin to live with a new sense of freedom. You are no longer a prisoner of your attachments. So, how can you practice detachment in your daily life? Start small. Let go of the little things, like worrying about what others think of you, or stressing over things you can't control. Over time, you'll begin to see that these small acts of letting go lead to bigger ones. As you practice detachment, you'll find that you are more at peace, more joyful, and more resilient in the face of life's challenges. Detachment is not about becoming cold or unfeeling. It's about finding a balance between caring deeply and understanding that your happiness doesn't depend on any one thing. It's about choosing freedom over control, peace over conflict, and joy over suffering. When you detach, you open the door to a deeper, more lasting happiness. You learn to flow with life, instead of struggling against it. Imagine what life would be like if you could let go of the need to control everything. What if, instead of stressing over every little thing, you could simply let life unfold as it will? This doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you care without attachment. You love without expectation. You live without the constant need to control your surroundings. And in that freedom, you find true happiness. Isn't that the kind of life we all long for? A life where we can be at peace, no matter what happens. It's all possible, if only we learn the art of detachment. The power of mindfulness in difficult times. Have you ever tried to truly pay attention to your thoughts and feelings in a moment of pain? What happens when you stop and just observe your inner world without reacting? It's a strange thing, isn't it? Most of the time, we are so caught up in our emotions, in our worries, in the chaos of life, that we don't even notice what's going on inside us. Yet, if we can pause and observe with a mindful eye, we can see that our suffering is often caused by the way we react to things. It's not the situations themselves that make us unhappy, but our reactions to them. Mindfulness, according to Buddhism, is the practice of paying full attention to the present moment without judgment. It means being fully aware of what is happening right now, without getting caught in the past or worrying about the future. This is especially important when life feels overwhelming or when we find ourselves facing difficulties. How often have you been angry, stressed, or sad because of something that happened hours, days, or even weeks ago? Mindfulness teaches us to stop clinging to past hurts and future fears. It brings us back to the here and now. When we are mindful, we can observe our emotions, thoughts, and reactions without becoming controlled by them. For example, imagine you're feeling overwhelmed with sadness. Instead of letting that sadness consume you, mindfulness allows you to observe it from a distance. You can notice the sensation of sadness in your chest, the thoughts that are feeding it, and the urge to react to it. But here's the key. You don't have to act on that sadness. You don't have to let it define you. You can simply notice it, accept that it's there, and allow it to pass, just like a cloud moving across the sky. The more you practice mindfulness, the more you realize that your emotions are not who you are. They are temporary visitors, and you don't have to invite them to stay. So, how does mindfulness help us in difficult times? When life is hard and you're faced with challenges, mindfulness gives you the space to breathe. It gives you the ability to step back from the chaos and observe it without being swept away by it. You can choose not to react in anger, fear, or sadness. Instead of immediately becoming upset when something goes wrong, mindfulness teaches you to pause. You take a moment to check in with yourself. What am I feeling right now? Why am I feeling this way? Can I let go of this feeling? Or can I just be with it for a moment and see what happens? This pause, this moment of awareness, is where the magic happens. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of being mindful of our breath, because the breath is always with us. It's a constant, calming presence. When you're going through a tough time, focus on your breath. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. With every breath, you bring yourself back to the present moment, away from the worries and fears of the future, away from the regrets and disappointments of the past. Each breath is a reminder that you are alive, that you are here, and that you are in control of your response to the world around you. Mindfulness helps you become the observer of your thoughts and emotions, rather than being controlled by them. In Buddhist teachings, mindfulness is often described as a form of meditation, but it doesn't require you to sit in a quiet room for hours, or even have any special training. You can practice mindfulness anywhere, anytime, as long as you bring your full attention to the present moment. Whether you're washing dishes, walking, or even feeling upset, you can practice mindfulness in that moment. You can simply stop and ask yourself, what's happening right now? It's about being aware, without judgment, of what's going on in your mind and body. The key to mindfulness is non-judgment. Don't label your thoughts as good or bad. Just notice them for what they are. Thoughts come and go, and so do emotions. They don't need to control your life. You are the one who decides how to respond to them. When we practice mindfulness, we also cultivate a deep sense of acceptance. Life is not always easy, and sometimes it feels like things are falling apart. But mindfulness helps us accept the truth of our circumstances without resistance. Instead of fighting against reality, we learn to flow with it. We stop wishing things were different and start accepting things as they are. This doesn't mean we give up or stop trying to improve our lives. It simply means that we stop suffering by resisting what is. When we stop resisting, we stop adding unnecessary stress to our lives. It's important to understand that mindfulness is not about controlling your thoughts or emotions. It's about being aware of them and letting them come and go naturally. You don't need to force yourself to feel happy all the time. It's okay to feel sadness, frustration, or fear. Mindfulness teaches you to be present with those feelings, to not run from them or hide them. In fact, when you face your feelings with mindfulness, you might find that they lose their power over you. You no longer need to react to them because you're aware of them and can choose to respond with calmness instead. This practice takes time and patience. It's like training a muscle. At first, it may be hard to stay mindful when you're overwhelmed with emotions. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes to find that stillness, even in the middle of chaos. In the Buddhist tradition, mindfulness is seen as a way to cultivate peace and wisdom. It helps us to live in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. When you start practicing mindfulness, you'll find that your reactions to difficult situations change. You'll become less reactive, more compassionate, and more peaceful, no matter what's going on in your life. So, the next time you're facing a challenge, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What's going on inside me? Then, simply observe. Be present with your emotions and thoughts. Don't judge them. Don't resist them. Just notice them and let them pass. With mindfulness, you can weather any storm and find peace amidst the chaos. Impermanence, embracing change for inner peace. Life is full of changes. One moment, everything is perfect. In the next moment, things can turn upside down. It's easy to get caught in the idea that life should stay the same, that we should be comfortable, and that we should be free from pain. But what if I told you that the key to happiness lies in accepting change, in embracing impermanence? Think about it for a moment. Have you ever held on to something so tightly, believing it would last forever, only to watch it slip away? It could be a job, a relationship, or even your health. The fear of losing what we love often causes us more pain than the loss itself. We get attached to things and people, thinking they define us or that they will always be there. But what happens when they're gone? What happens when the unexpected strikes? Buddhism teaches us one powerful lesson. Nothing in this world is permanent. All things change. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the painful. It's all part of the cycle of life. This might sound a little scary, but it's actually the most freeing and liberating truth you can learn. Why? Because once you realize that everything is temporary, you stop fearing change. You start to live with less anxiety and more peace. Let me ask you something. When was the last time something changed in your life, and you felt like it was the end of the world? Maybe you lost a job or a loved one. Maybe your plans didn't work out. How did you feel at that moment? Was it painful? Of course it was. Change brings discomfort, but it also brings growth. You see, when you understand that everything is in constant motion, you begin to see life from a new perspective. Imagine you're sitting at the edge of a river. The water is always flowing, never stopping, never the same. You can't stop the river from flowing, but you can choose how you respond to it. You can fight the current, or you can learn to float with it. The river won't wait for you to be ready. It just moves, whether you want it to or not. But if you let go and float with the current, you'll find peace, even in the middle of the storm. This is how we can view change in our lives. Instead of trying to control every detail, we can learn to go with the flow. Yes, it's uncomfortable at times. Yes, it's hard to accept that the things we love will one day change. But the truth is, resisting change only causes more pain. When you fight against what is, you're fighting against the natural rhythm of life. When you accept it, you open yourself to the peace that comes from living in harmony with the world around you. So, how do we practice embracing impermanence? The first step is awareness. Start noticing the things in your life that are changing. Maybe it's the seasons, the people around you, or even your own thoughts and feelings. Nothing is the same from one moment to the next. When you become aware of this constant flow, you can begin to see that change isn't something to fear. It's something to celebrate. Every change brings a new opportunity, a new lesson, and a new way to grow. Here's a simple example to help you understand. Think about the seasons. Every year, we experience spring, summer, fall, and winter. They each bring something unique and special. In spring, the flowers bloom, and the world feels fresh and new. In summer, the sun shines brightly, and we enjoy warmth and growth. Fall brings cooler weather and the beauty of changing leaves, and winter, though cold, gives us a time to rest and reflect. If we resist the change from one season to the next, we miss the beauty and lessons each one brings. Life is the same. If we resist the changes in our lives, we miss the opportunity to grow, learn, and experience the fullness of life. Yes, change can be difficult. But remember, just like the seasons, change has its own rhythm, and it brings something valuable every time. When you stop resisting it, you begin to experience peace. One of the most powerful Buddhist teachings about impermanence is that everything we experience is a passing moment. It's like a wave that crashes on the shore and then disappears. You can't hold on to the wave, and you can't stop the waves from coming. They will keep coming over and over again, but you can learn to surf them. You can learn to ride the waves of change with grace, instead of being dragged under by them. This is the essence of mindfulness, being fully present in the moment without trying to control it. Let's go deeper. How does impermanence affect our relationships? Many of us want our relationships to stay the same forever. We want our loved ones to never change, to always be the way we remember them. But people change, and relationships change. When we accept this, we can appreciate the moments we have with others without being afraid of losing them. We begin to love more fully, knowing that nothing is guaranteed, and that makes our time together more precious. Remember this: change is not an enemy. It's not something to fear or fight. It's a natural part of life. When you embrace it, you can find peace even when things are difficult. Life will throw challenges your way, but when you understand that nothing stays the same, you will no longer be afraid of the storms. You'll learn to dance in the rain, knowing that the clouds will pass and the sun will shine again. To truly embrace impermanence is to understand that every moment is precious and nothing can be taken for granted. It's about living fully in the present and not clinging to the past or fearing the future. So, the next time life changes in unexpected ways, ask yourself, how can I embrace this moment? What can I learn from this change? And remember, even in the worst conditions, change is your ally. It's always working in your favor, helping you grow, helping you become the person you're meant to be. In this ever-changing world, the most important thing you can do is to remain flexible. Don't get stuck in the past, and don't fear the future. Embrace the beauty of change, and you'll find peace, no matter what comes your way. After all, impermanence is not something to mourn. It's something to celebrate. The art of letting go, freeing yourself from pain. Letting go. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? Yet, for many of us, it feels impossible. We hold on to things, memories, expectations, anger, and pain, as if they are a part of us. But what if I told you that letting go is the key to freedom? What if you could release all the burdens weighing on your heart and feel light, peaceful, and free? Think about a time when you were upset, angry, or hurt. Maybe someone said something that made you feel small, or a situation didn't go your way. You hold on to those feelings, don't you? You replay the moment over and over in your mind, each time getting more and more frustrated. But this constant reliving of the pain doesn't change the past. It only hurts you more. The more you cling to your pain, the more it becomes a part of you. In Buddhism, there is a deep understanding of the pain caused by attachment. We are attached to our feelings, our possessions, and even our own sense of self. But all attachments are temporary. Nothing lasts forever. The pain we feel from attachment is like holding on to a burning coal, hoping it will stop hurting. The longer we hold on, the more we suffer. To let go is not to forget or deny what has happened. It's about accepting that things cannot always be controlled. Life changes, people change, and situations evolve. When we hold on tightly to something that is already past, we are only holding ourselves back. The key to inner peace lies in letting go of the need to control, to hold on to what no longer serves us. Letting go begins with understanding impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing. The good times and the bad times, they are all temporary. Just as the seasons change, so do our emotions. The sadness you feel today may not last forever. The happiness you feel now may fade, but it will return in another form. Embrace the flow of life. and you'll start to see that nothing is permanent, not even your pain. This is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. Instead of becoming caught up in the storm of emotions, we can step back and watch them pass, like clouds drifting across the sky. By practicing mindfulness, we create a space between our emotions and our reactions. In that space, we find freedom. We can choose to let go, to release the grip that pain has on us. Letting go also means releasing our attachment to outcomes. How often do we hold on to expectations? We want things to turn out a certain way, and when they don't, we feel disappointed or frustrated. But the truth is, we cannot control everything. In life, things don't always go according to plan, and that's okay. The more we let go of our need for control, the more we open ourselves up to the flow of life, with all its surprises and blessings. One of the most powerful ways to let go is through forgiveness. Forgiving others is not about excusing their actions or forgetting what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. When we hold on to anger or grudges, we are allowing others to have power over our emotions. But when we forgive, we take back that power. We choose peace over pain. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it changes our future. It allows us to heal and move forward. Forgiving yourself is equally important. Many of us hold on to guilt and regret, thinking that we must punish ourselves for our mistakes. But holding on to these feelings only keeps us trapped in the past. The truth is, we are all human, and we all make mistakes. Letting go of self-blame and offering yourself compassion is essential for healing. Treat yourself with the same kindness and forgiveness that you would offer to a friend. But letting go isn't just about releasing pain or anger. It's also about releasing the need to control every aspect of your life. We often hold on tightly to our plans, our goals, and our ideas of what our life should look like. But what happens when life doesn't follow our script? We get frustrated, upset, and disappointed. The truth is, life doesn't have a script. It's unpredictable and ever-changing. When we let go of our rigid expectations, we allow ourselves to flow with the changes and embrace the unknown. One way to practice letting go is through meditation. Meditation is a powerful tool that helps us quiet the mind and create a space for inner peace. In meditation, we focus on our breath and let go of the thoughts that arise. We don't fight them or try to push them away. Instead, we observe them and let them pass. This practice trains our mind to let go of the constant chatter and find stillness. The more we practice, the easier it becomes to let go of the attachments that cause us pain. Letting go also involves being gentle with ourselves. We are often our own harshest critics, holding on to self-judgment and perfectionism, but this only leads to frustration and unhappiness. Instead of striving for perfection, try to embrace your imperfections. Accept yourself as you are, flaws and all. Let go of the need to be perfect and allow yourself to simply be. In that space of acceptance, you will find true peace. Another important aspect of letting go is learning to trust. Trust that life will unfold as it should, even if it doesn't match your expectations. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be, and that everything is happening for your growth and learning. Trust that the universe has a plan for you, even when you can't see it yet. When we trust the process of life, we can let go of our fear and uncertainty and move forward with faith and confidence. Finally, letting go is a practice that requires patience. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes time to release old habits, old wounds, and old ways of thinking. But with consistent practice, you will begin to notice the shifts. You will feel lighter, freer, and more at peace. You will learn to navigate life's challenges with grace, knowing that nothing lasts forever, not even the tough times. Letting go doesn't mean you're weak. In fact, it takes great strength and courage to release the things that no longer serve you. It's an act of self-love, of honoring your peace and happiness over the pain of holding on. So, take a deep breath and begin the process of letting go today. Release the old, make space for the new, and embrace the freedom that comes with it. The more you practice the art of letting go, the more you'll find yourself at peace, no matter what life throws your way. Gratitude and contentment, finding joy in the smallest things. Have you ever noticed how we often chase after big achievements, thinking that only grand successes will bring us happiness. We work hard, push ourselves, and sometimes we forget to appreciate the small moments, the little things that actually make life meaningful. But what if true happiness doesn't come from big things? What if it's the tiny, everyday moments that hold the secret to lasting joy? In Buddhism, there is a teaching that emphasizes the power of gratitude and contentment. It's not about waiting for the perfect life to come along. It's about being thankful for what you already have, right in this moment. Imagine waking up every day with a sense of gratitude for just being alive. Can you picture it? The warmth of the sunlight on your face, the sound of birds chirping, the comfort of a good meal, or the presence of loved ones around you. These are the small things, the simple things, that often get overlooked in the rush of daily life. But when we stop to truly appreciate them, we realize how much happiness they can bring. Think about the last time you felt truly content. Was it when you achieved something huge, or was it in a quiet moment of peace? Perhaps when you were sitting with your family or enjoying a cup of tea in silence. Contentment comes not from having more, but from being at peace with what is. It's about realizing that happiness doesn't need to be earned or chased. It's already here, within us, in every simple, beautiful moment. Gratitude is a powerful tool for cultivating happiness. It shifts our focus away from what we don't have to what we already have. When you start to recognize the abundance in your life, whether it's the love of a friend, the beauty of nature, or the simple act of breathing, you begin to feel rich, not in material things, but in the richness of life itself. This is a key teaching in Buddhism. The more you appreciate the present moment, the more you open yourself to lasting happiness. When we are truly grateful, we find joy in even the most challenging situations. Instead of focusing on what's missing, we start to see the gifts in the present moment. One of the most profound lessons Buddhism teaches is that contentment comes from within. It's not about accumulating more things or experiences to feel fulfilled. Instead, it's about changing the way we see the world. We can choose to look at life through the lens of gratitude, focusing on what we have rather than what we lack. This shift in perspective can make a world of difference. By practicing gratitude daily, we start to train our minds to seek out the positive, even in the most difficult situations. Think about a time when life felt overwhelming and everything seemed to be going wrong. In those moments, it's easy to feel hopeless, isn't it? But if you stop for a moment and ask yourself, what can I be thankful for right now? You might be surprised at what you find. Maybe it's the fact that you are healthy, or that you have a roof over your head. Perhaps it's the love of a family member, or the kindness of a stranger. Even in the darkest times, there is always something to be grateful for. This doesn't mean that we ignore our struggles, or pretend that everything is perfect. Life will always have its challenges. But by focusing on gratitude, we start to shift our attention away from the negatives. Instead of letting difficulties define us, we begin to define ourselves by our ability to appreciate the beauty and goodness in life, no matter how small. Another important aspect of contentment is letting go of the constant desire for more. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to want more. More money, more success, more possessions. But this constant longing can leave us feeling empty, because the truth is, nothing external can ever truly fill the void inside. True contentment comes from within, from the understanding that we are enough, just as we are. When we stop measuring our worth by what we have and instead learn to appreciate what we already possess, we begin to experience true peace and happiness. Buddhism teaches us that happiness is not something we need to search for outside of ourselves. It's already here, in our hearts. And the more we practice gratitude, the more we cultivate contentment. When we can find joy in the smallest things, in the simple act of living, we realize that happiness isn't something to be chased. It's something to be embraced. Let's take a moment to reflect. Think about your day. What are you grateful for right now? It might be the moment you're spending reading these words, or the warm cup of tea beside you. Maybe it's the comfort of knowing that, despite the challenges, you are still here, alive, and capable of experiencing joy. When you can truly feel gratitude for the simple things, you begin to unlock a deep, unshakable happiness. This is the kind of happiness that doesn't depend on the world around you. It comes from within, and it's always there, waiting to be noticed. In moments of struggle, it can feel hard to be grateful. It might seem impossible to find contentment when life feels heavy. But the beauty of gratitude is that it doesn't require perfection. It doesn't matter how messy or difficult life is. Even in those moments, we can find something to be thankful for. Maybe it's the opportunity to learn and grow from our challenges, or the chance to become stronger and wiser through adversity. Gratitude, when practiced regularly, allows us to see life not as a series of burdens, but as a journey filled with countless blessings, no matter how small. True contentment isn't about settling for less. It's about appreciating what you have, right here, right now. It's about understanding that joy is not dependent on external circumstances, but on the way we choose to view the world. The more we practice gratitude and contentment, the more we begin to live a life of inner peace, one that no external force can take away. So, ask yourself, what can I be grateful for today? And remember, happiness is not something to be searched for. It's already inside you, waiting to be discovered. Compassion and forgiveness, the Buddhist way to happiness. In our life, we often face hurt. People may say things that upset us, or their actions may leave scars deep within our hearts. But have you ever wondered what would happen if we could forgive? Not just forgive them, but truly forgive ourselves? Wouldn't it feel like a heavy weight lifted from your heart? When we hold on to anger, bitterness, or resentment, it's like we're carrying a burden every single day. And yet, all of that can be released by simply embracing the powerful teachings of compassion and forgiveness. Imagine a situation where someone has hurt you deeply. Perhaps it's a friend who betrayed your trust, or a family member who spoke harsh words that linger in your mind. Every time you think about it, your heart feels heavy, your mood turns dark. You may replay the incident over and over in your mind, holding on to the pain, the anger, and the frustration. But here's the thing. That person might not even know the weight they've put on your shoulders. They've moved on, yet you are still holding the pain. Why do we do this? Why do we hold on to things that only hurt us? The Buddha teaches us that holding on to resentment or anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It doesn't work. All it does is harm you. The only way to truly heal is through forgiveness, both of others and yourself. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the chains of past hurts. We choose peace over pain, freedom over suffering. Forgiveness doesn't mean that what happened was okay, or that the other person isn't responsible for their actions. It simply means that you are choosing to release the grip that their actions have on your peace of mind. You are choosing to stop letting their actions control your happiness. Letting go of anger doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong. You are taking back control of your emotional well-being, not by holding on to pain, but by offering compassion instead. Compassion, according to Buddhism, isn't just about feeling sorry for someone. It's about understanding that all beings, including those who have hurt us, are also struggling. They are imperfect, just as we are. They may have acted out of their own pain, fear, or ignorance. In the Buddhist teachings, compassion is not just a feeling. It is an active choice. It's about opening your heart, not just to those who have treated you well, but also to those who have wronged you. The act of compassion is like a healing balm that soothes not only the wounds of others, but your own as well. When we truly practice compassion, we realize that holding on to anger and hatred only harms ourselves. It's like holding a match in your hand and expecting it to burn the other person. It doesn't work that way. Anger doesn't change the past, but forgiveness and compassion can change your future. When you choose compassion, you are not letting others off the hook. You are simply choosing peace over pain. Think about the last time you forgave someone. How did it feel? Did the anger start to fade away? Did the heaviness in your heart lift just a little bit? That is the power of compassion. It's not an easy thing to practice, especially when we feel hurt, but it's the most powerful tool we have for healing. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes, it's just about setting yourself free. It's about releasing yourself from the grip of the past and opening your heart to peace. You may never forget what happened, but you can choose to let go of the anger and the pain that bind you. When you do this, you create space for happiness to grow. When you let go of the grudges, you make room for joy. You can't fill a cup that's already full, just as you can't experience peace when your heart is full of resentment. Buddhism teaches that all beings are connected. The act of forgiveness not only heals you, but it heals the world. When we forgive, we break the cycle of suffering that we, and those around us, are trapped in. We move from a place of reactivity to one of peaceful response. Instead of letting hurtful actions or words control us, we choose to be the master of our emotions. We choose to respond with kindness, with understanding, and most importantly, with compassion. When you forgive, you begin to change. You no longer react out of anger or frustration, but from a place of inner peace. Your heart softens. Your mind becomes clear. And the burden of carrying old hurts no longer weighs you down. It's like you're no longer tied to the past. You're free. Free to move forward, free to be at peace, and free to embrace the happiness that you deserve. Compassion also allows us to understand ourselves more deeply. It invites us to look inward and recognize our own struggles. When we can show kindness to others, it's easier to show kindness to ourselves. How often do we beat ourselves up for past mistakes? How often do we hold on to guilt or shame that doesn't serve us? Compassion teaches us to forgive ourselves, to release ourselves from the prison of self-judgment, and to allow ourselves the grace to grow. The Buddhist teachings offer us a profound gift, the ability to heal through love, forgiveness, and compassion. These qualities are not just for the benefit of others, they are for our own healing. When we practice forgiveness and compassion, we heal not only the relationship with others, but also the relationship with ourselves. We transform our own hearts, our own minds, and our own lives. Through this, we move closer to happiness, closer to peace, and closer to the beautiful person we are meant to be. So, the next time you're hurt, take a moment to pause. Breathe. Remember that forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. Let go of the anger, the resentment, and the hurt. Replace it with compassion. Remember that we all suffer. We are all imperfect. But when we choose to practice compassion and forgiveness, we choose happiness. And that, in the end, is the path to true peace. Living with purpose, finding meaning in every struggle. When life feels overwhelming and we're stuck in a tough situation, it's easy to ask, why me? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why does life feel so unfair sometimes? Have you ever felt like you're lost, wandering through life with no clear direction? It's as if everything is happening to you, and you have no control. But what if I told you that the key to finding peace, even in the worst conditions, is living with purpose? What if every struggle you face could be a chance to discover deeper meaning? In Buddhism, we learn that everything that happens to us, good or bad, is an opportunity for growth. It's easy to feel discouraged when life doesn't go our way. The loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or facing financial troubles can leave us feeling defeated. But these hardships are not meaningless. They are part of our journey, and each moment holds the potential for us to grow wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. Think of the struggles in your own life. Have you ever faced a situation that felt impossible, but later, looking back, you realized that it taught you something important? That is the power of living with purpose. When we shift our focus from the problem itself to the lesson it holds, we start to see that every challenge is a stepping stone, leading us toward a greater understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Buddhism teaches that life is full of suffering, but that suffering is not the end. It's not about avoiding hardship, it's about learning how to use it. The Buddha himself faced immense challenges throughout his life, but he never saw them as obstacles. Instead, he saw them as opportunities to deepen his understanding of the world and his place in it. He embraced each struggle, knowing that it was part of his path to enlightenment. When we live with purpose, we stop seeing life as a series of random events. We begin to understand that everything that happens has a deeper meaning. Even when life seems unfair, we know that each experience, whether good or bad, can teach us something valuable. This shift in perspective allows us to find peace even in the most difficult times. Purpose is not something that is given to us from the outside. It's something we create from within. Each of us has the power to choose how we respond to life's challenges. When we live with purpose, we take responsibility for our own happiness. We stop waiting for the world to change and instead focus on how we can change ourselves. One of the most powerful ways to live with purpose is by practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to be fully present in the moment, no matter what is happening around us. Instead of getting lost in worry or regret, mindfulness helps us focus on what we can control in the here and now. It allows us to see that even in the midst of struggle, we have the power to choose our responses. In Buddhist teachings, the concept of right intention is also key to living with purpose. Right intention means approaching life with a clear and loving heart, free from attachment or fear. It's about choosing to act from a place of compassion and wisdom, even when it's difficult. When we set our intentions with love and kindness, we begin to see our struggles not as burdens, but as opportunities to practice compassion, both for ourselves and others. Purpose also comes from connecting with something greater than ourselves. Whether it's through spiritual practice, helping others, or pursuing a meaningful goal, having something to strive for gives our lives direction and meaning. When we focus on serving others, we shift our attention away from our own problems and find joy in making a difference. Even the smallest acts of kindness can help us feel more connected to the world around us, reminding us that we're not alone in our struggles. Living with purpose doesn't mean that we won't face pain or difficulty. In fact, the path to purpose often involves facing our deepest fears and challenges. But it does mean that we approach each challenge with an open heart, knowing that it is part of a greater journey. When we live with purpose, we learn to embrace life's ups and downs, understanding that they are all part of our story. In Buddhism, we are reminded that the only constant in life is change. Nothing stays the same forever, and this truth can be both comforting and unsettling. But when we live with purpose, we learn to flow with change, adapting to whatever comes our way. Each change, each shift in our lives, is an opportunity to grow and find deeper meaning. The teachings of the Buddha remind us that we are all capable of living a life of purpose. No matter how difficult life may seem, we have the ability to choose how we respond. By shifting our focus from the problems we face to the lessons they bring, we can find meaning in every struggle. Life is not just about surviving. It's about thriving, about growing through every challenge that comes our way. Finding meaning in every struggle isn't always easy. It takes practice, patience, and a willingness to embrace life's uncertainties. But with each step, we move closer to a life of peace and fulfillment. The key is to remember that no matter how difficult things may seem, there is always a purpose behind them. Every challenge is an opportunity to live with greater awareness, love, and compassion. So, the next time you face a difficult situation, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask yourself, "What can I learn from this?" Embrace the struggle, knowing that it's not here to defeat you, but to help you grow. When you live with purpose, you'll find that even the darkest moments can lead to the brightest light. Final wisdom, the ultimate state of unshakable happiness. As we come to the end of this journey, you may be wondering, can I truly stay happy no matter what life throws my way? Will the teachings of Buddhism really work for me in the middle of my toughest struggles? The answer is yes. It's not just about believing in happiness, but about living it, no matter the circumstances. True happiness doesn't depend on what's happening outside of you. It's about what's happening within. Let's take a moment to reflect. Think about your life right now. Are you facing difficulties that seem overwhelming? Are you carrying burdens of worry, regret, or fear? It's completely natural to feel these things. Life is full of ups and downs, but Buddhism teaches us something very important. Everything is temporary. Whatever you're going through today, whether it's pain, sadness, or fear, it won't last forever. This very moment will pass, and a new one will come. The key to happiness is not to hold on to the storms of life, but to let them pass through you, like clouds in the sky. One of the most powerful teachings in Buddhism is the idea of impermanence. The nature of life is change, and this is something we must embrace, not resist. When we stop fighting against life's changes, we begin to feel a deep sense of peace. Imagine if you could let go of the need for everything to stay the same. What if, instead of clinging to your circumstances, you simply accepted them as they are? This shift in perspective can bring a powerful sense of relief. You no longer feel the pressure to control everything, because you understand that life is constantly evolving. The storms will pass, the sun will shine again, and even in the darkest times, you can still find peace within. Another vital teaching is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is not just about sitting quietly and meditating. It's about being aware of what's happening in the present moment, without judgment. It's about observing your thoughts, feelings, and actions without reacting to them. When you practice mindfulness, you become more in tune with your inner world, and you begin to realize that you are not your thoughts or emotions. You are the observer of them. This understanding allows you to distance yourself from negative emotions, like fear and anger. They no longer control you. You can acknowledge them, but you don't have to let them define your reality. Let's take an example. Imagine you are facing a challenging situation, maybe a personal conflict, financial stress, or health problems. Without mindfulness, you may react impulsively, letting fear and frustration take over. But with mindfulness, you can take a step back, breathe deeply, and observe your emotions without being controlled by them. You may feel upset, but you don't let that upset dictate your actions. Instead of getting caught up in the storm of emotions, you find your center. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are the calm in the storm. This is the power of mindfulness. Another essential teaching is the importance of compassion. Buddhism teaches us that true happiness comes from caring for others. It's easy to focus on our own struggles and forget that we are all connected. But when we extend compassion to others, we begin to heal ourselves. Helping others, offering kindness, and showing love not only make the world a better place, but they also bring us joy. The more we give, the more we receive. It's a beautiful cycle. And the more we practice compassion, the more we realize that our happiness is not something we get from the outside world, but something we create within ourselves through our actions. Think about this for a moment. When was the last time you did something kind for someone else, just for the sake of making their day a little brighter? Maybe it was a smile, a word of encouragement, or even a simple act of service. That feeling of warmth you get from helping others is a glimpse of the happiness that Buddhism encourages us to cultivate. By focusing on the well-being of others, we shift our attention away from our own problems and become a source of positivity in the world. This is one of the most powerful ways to remain happy, even in the worst conditions. We also need to understand the importance of letting go. How much of your life is filled with attachment to things, people, or outcomes? When we become attached to certain results, we set ourselves up for disappointment and suffering. Life doesn't always go as planned, and that's okay. The Buddhist path encourages us to let go of expectations and attachments, allowing us to experience life as it is, without the weight of our desires holding us back. When we let go of what no longer serves us, we make space for new growth, new opportunities, and new happiness. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means freeing yourself from the burden of control and trusting that life will unfold as it's meant to. When you start letting go, you'll notice something amazing happens. You become lighter. The worries, regrets, and fears that once weighed you down no longer have the same power over you. You start to feel a sense of freedom and peace that is truly priceless. This is the freedom that comes from surrendering to the flow of life, trusting that whatever happens, you will be okay. Finally, we need to remember that happiness is a state of mind, not a destination. It's easy to think that once we achieve certain goals, getting a promotion, finding the perfect relationship, or solving all our problems, we will finally be happy. But this is a misunderstanding. True happiness is found within. It's a way of seeing the world, of approaching life with an open heart and a calm mind. It's about finding peace in the present moment, without waiting for external circumstances to change. Happiness is a choice, not a result. And you can choose it, no matter what's going on in your life. So, as we come to the end of this video, I want to remind you of something important. You are not alone in your struggles. Everyone faces challenges, everyone experiences pain, but through the teachings of Buddhism, you can find a path to happiness that transcends any difficulty. You don't have to be defined by your circumstances. You have the power to choose happiness, peace, and joy, no matter what life throws your way. Thank you for watching this video, and if you found value in it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. We'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections in the comments. Remember, happiness is not something that's outside of you. It's something that already exists within you, waiting to be discovered.